Hi there, welcome back, and this is the next video in the series about using the Corsair K95 RGB keyboard to control PreSonus' Studio One version 3.5. So in the last video I said that we'd look at how to configure the Corsair, but I thought I'd just give you a quick demo of seeing how it works in action. What we're going to do in this video is just look at some editing techniques, and that's going to be for both audio and MIDI tracks as well. So if we switch to Studio One, you'll see that I've got a couple of audio tracks and we've got a MIDI drum track as the bottom track. And what we're going to do in this instance is basically we're just going to have a look at how to get rid of some dead space on some audio events. And we're also going to look at tidying up MIDI tracks as well, maybe get them in time. And we're going to look at other things such as using Melodyne and also bend markers as well. So like I say, on the screen you can see that I've highlighted this vocal track, and what I want to do now is I want to remove the dead space from the start of the audio event and get rid of all the dead space at the end of it as well. So an easy way to get to the audio and making sure that the cursor lines up accurately is just to use the tab to transient function, which I've got mapped to my tab key. Seems fairly straightforward. And what will happen is if I hit that, it'll take us to the start of the event, but what I want to do is I want to get to the start of the audio itself. So if I hit tab again, it takes us to there. So I want to get rid of everything that's behind that cursor. So in order to do that, we need to fire off the trim start to cursor function, which I've got mapped to S for start. So if I hit that, you'll see that on the screen we've got rid of that dead space, and also the Corsair just quickly showed with an on-screen display that I've just fired off that function. So just to review that, I'll just do a couple of undos and get us back to where we were. So let's just say I move back a touch, a couple of bars there. What we're going to do is we're going to just try that again. So if I hit the tab key, gets us to the start of the event, and then if I hit it again, gets us to the start of the audio itself. And then I hit the S key, boom, it's gone, got rid of it all. So like I say, you can do the exact same thing and get rid of everything that's after the cursor. So I'm just going to fast forward, and let's say we want to get rid of everything there. What we can do, and this is how I've got it mapped, is we can run the trim end to cursor. And basically I've got that mapped to the E key. So if I hit that, and if we just switch back to Studio One, if I hit that now, you'll see everything after it has gone. Now I also have the tab to transient next and previous mapped to two keys. So my tab key will go forward through the transients, but I've also got the caps lock key mapped to go backwards. So if you watch the cursor, it'll jump back and forth. And then we can go forward with the tab, and we can go back with the caps lock. So it's really accurate in terms of getting to the actual transient of the hit. So yeah, very handy for doing some quick edits without having to line everything up with a cursor. So I think what we'll do now is we'll actually have a look at just normal splitting. So we can also do regular splitting of events. So we're going to cut this event into some sections. So what I've done is I've tabbed backwards, which you can see has taken me to the start of the audio, and I think what we'll do is we'll just move forward and we'll probably just cut it there. So we're going to end up making two events from one event. So for me, to cut at the cursor, I've mapped that to the C key. So if you watch now what happens, it's now split it, and you can see on screen it says split at cursor, and we've got two events instead of one. So you can see that I'm moving between the two, and you can see the screen highlighting them there. So what we're going to do now is we've got the first event selected. Let's pretend that the vocal needs some tuning. So I'm going to use Melodyne to alter the audio. So maybe that could be just raising the pitch, changing the formant, whatever you want to do, whatever will be needed. So in order to edit with Melodyne, all I have to do is hit the M key on the Corsair, and you can see it flashing yellow and red. And I've tried to make it look visually like Melodyne itself. So if I hit the M key, it'll now start analysing the audio. And you can see on screen it's already done it. It's given us a little display. So from there on you could then start doing your Melodyne edits, changing the notes, wherever you want to do. For purpose of this demo I'm not going to bother going through all that, but if you want to remove it we need to run the remove Melodyne mapping, and for that I've got that mapped to the K key. So if I hit K, it's now just remove Melodyne and you're back to where you were before. You could always do undo, same thing. So I said earlier on as well that we'd look at doing some bend marker work and showing you how that works with the Corsair. So what we're going to do here is maybe we might want to alter the timing of the vocal, so perhaps singer's timing's slightly off, maybe not quite in time. So in Studio One we can use the bend markers to alter the position of the notes. In order to do that I need to detect the transients, and to do this I've got that mapped to the T key on the K95 because T stands for transient, and what you can see now is straight away it's found all the start of the notes. You can see there all the little bend markers are placed. So let's just review that again. I'm just going to undo that. So we're back to the start, we've just undoed, and again detect transients, I've got it mapped to the T key. So here we go, and there you go, you can see it's now fired off that function and it's detected all those transients. So if we hit the F2 key, we're going to open up the audio editor, and there you can see it. We're going to zoom in as well. Now Corsair doesn't totally eliminate the need for a mouse. I'm just going to zoom in and we'll just move across a touch. And now what you can see is that we've got several bend markers on the screen, all for where the transients are, where Studio One thinks they are. So in order to alter the timing of this sung vocal, we're now going to have to simply change the timing, and that means moving these bend markers manually. And to do that we need to first of all select the bend marker tool. So on the keyboard what I've done is I've kept all the numerical numbers still set to the defaults, so that if I hit the 7 key you should see in Studio One that it's now gone to the bend marker tool. So I'll just show you that in review. So if we go back to number 1 we're back to the cursor, and if I hit number 7 we're now back at the bend marker tool, and if we select a bend marker we can then just simply drag it left or right to change the timing, and it's as simple as that. So I'm just compressing or expanding where the notes are, and I honestly don't think you could do this with a keyboard for changing the length of the notes, so that's why I'm using the mouse. So they're a combination. You'd use the keyboard and the mouse. I don't think you could exclusively just use the keyboard, but for what it can do it's far easier than trying to memorize a lot of modifier keys in combination, so there'll be quite a lot to that. So what we're going to do now is just simply look at how to bounce that audio, as that's something that you'd typically do. So I'm just going to close the editor and get us back to where we were, so just 2 seconds. Back into Studio One. There you go, that's turned off. So you can see in review that I've detected the transients, and then I've just made a quick manual alteration to one of the notes. So in order to bounce all this, we'd want to make sure that everything's selected on the track, and for that we're going to fire off the select all on tracks function, and I've got that set to A for all. So if I hit the A key you can now see that all the events on that particular track are highlighted, ready for you to do whatever you want. And then to perform the bounce, typically that is mapped to Control and B, but because I've already mapped it into Studio One, into the Corsair's actions, all I have to do is hit B for bounce, and there you go. You've made your edits and then you've bounced it back to a full event. So it's pretty simple. Basically that's just a simple overview of just some of the editing functions that I've mapped to this layer of the Corsair keyboard. I've got a couple of other things which I'm going to show you as well right now. So let's just move away from the audio side and we'll go down to this MIDI drum track, and straight away you can see that Studio One has selected the parts, and we've got 4 MIDI drum parts here, which I'm just cycling through at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll look at actually how to move notes within that MIDI part. So if I hit F2 to open the MIDI editor, what you will see is we've got our display, and 2 seconds, there you go. Right, so we're in there. So let's say that we want to move some notes around. So we can actually select them, we can go through them. So at the moment it's just cycling through the actual MIDI event, but let's say that we want to alter these. I think these are hi-hats on this track. Just quickly highlight a couple of notes, and then what we can do, if you look at the number pad keys on the Corsair, you'll see that numbers 2, 4, 6 and 8 are flashing. Now for me, numbers 4 and 6 perform the nudge notes left, and then the 6 key performs the nudge notes right. So if I go 6, you'll see that the notes are moving and they're snapping to the grid because we've got them set to quantize. So you can see that it's going back and forth and the snap in there. But also with 2 and 8 we can move the notes down. So say if we didn't want it to be mapped to the hi-hat anymore and maybe wanted to map it to something else, we can just go down and you can see it's going down to whatever other sounds it's mapped to. So back to where it was, like I say, get it back to there, and we can alter where the notes sit. So if you're looking to maybe create different parts from what you've got, give it a bit of variation, you can simply just select notes and you can move between them. So pretty handy. I'm also using the keys left and right here, so maybe want to just move that. So there you go, that's changed. Let's switch, there's the bass drum, let's maybe just move that back. There you go, and let's move to this snare, change that. And you can just cycle between your notes using the left and right keys, and then you can obviously use your nudge notes function to move them where you want on the grid. Really straightforward stuff. Also as well, if you've got a section now here, everything looks like it's been quantized and it's quite tight, but let's just have a quick go at quantizing that. So I think we can just move these notes if we slightly drag them. 2 seconds, there we go. So you can see, if you look at the screen, that the notes aren't quantized hard to the grid. If we want to do that, there's a very simple function, and that simply means just hitting the Q key for quantize. And there you go, it snapped them to the grid. And if you look at the grid, we've actually got it set to 16th notes. So if I zoom in a bit on there, you can now see that actually they're also quantized to the grid. So pretty much that's it really, simple stuff. You can set your Corsair to however you work, so this is just how I use it. And if Studio One has a keyboard shortcut for a particular function, then it can be mapped to any of these keys. So I hope you found that helpful, and in the next video I'll be doing a quick demo of how I use the Corsair on layer 3, which is for mixing. So thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.